Hi, it's James. Welcome back to the channel. So glad you are here. It is Sunday. I'll be preaching. Probably have already preached by the time this video is posted. But just a bit of news, an update on the situation at Gateway. One of the three elders who was asked to take a temporary leave has resigned. His name is Steve Doolin. He was one of the elders who was there from 2005 to 2007, and that is where we believe that Cindy Clemenshire contacted the church, asked for monetary means to pay for her counseling that she went through. And apparently in one of the conversations, Robert Morris allegedly said, what's it going to take to keep you quiet? And she said $2 million. She wasn't serious about it. She said so in the interview. But Robert Morris hung up on her. So the other interesting thing is, and I want to put up pictures of the elders at Gateway Church and the leadership. So we'll just every couple seconds, I'll move through these pictures rather quickly, and we'll show the leadership of the church. This is all the listed leaders and elders of Gateway Church. It's on their website. Obviously, Steve Doolin is no longer an elder there. James Morris is no longer on staff there. But I can also tell you, I went to their website, and the senior pastor job is not posted yet. I think that's interesting. Now, I doubt that this will happen, but if for some crazy reason the leadership at Gateway Church were to watch this video, I mean, this is like a needle in a haystack kind of odds. But if this somehow, some way gets into the leadership of Gateway Church, watches this video, I got two things to say to you. Number one, everybody on staff at Gateway Church needs to go through some kind of boundaries training. It's got to happen. You've got to learn that all the doors of the offices of staff need to have a window. You need to learn that if you're visiting with somebody, especially if it's somebody of the opposite sex, that the blinds are open. You need to understand that you're not supposed to go to somebody else's house. They're not supposed to go to your house. If you're going to meet and it's not at the church, you meet at like a coffee shop or something. You know, I just happen to like Starbucks, but I don't care if it's Starbucks, Panera, McAllister's Deli, you name it. Meet in public. That way, you're above reproach. And there's no hint of sexual immorality. When it comes to kids, you have to have 2 teachers in each room so that the adults can vouch for one another. They need to be more proactive. Now, bringing in Max Lucado and bringing in that other minister from Sweden, that's a good step. After all, Robert Morris was there for a long time. Good or bad, if a senior pastor leaves a pulpit and that person's been there longer than 10 years, you probably need an interim pastor. So that's what, hey, if everybody's going to bash Gateway for hiding things and stuff like that, you've got to give them credit for when they do something right. So I want to share, to end the video, I want to share the scripture passage that I'm going to be preaching on. And I want to focus on a specific word. It's not a word that we use a lot in American culture today. So let's put up here Ephesians 4, starting in verse 17. It says this, "Now this I affirm and insist on in the Lord. You must no longer live as the Gentiles live, in the futility of their minds. They are darkened in their understanding, alienated from the life of God because of their ignorance and hardness of heart. They have lost all sensitivity and have abandoned themselves to licentiousness, greedy to practice every kind of impurity. That is not the way you have learned Christ. For surely you heard about him and were taught in him, and as truth is in Jesus. You were taught to put away your former way of life, your old self, corrupt and deluded by its lusts, and to be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and to clothe yourselves with the new self, created according to the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness." So the word is in verse 19. In verse 19, let's put that back up there. I want to focus on verse 19. It says, "They lost all sensitivity and have abandoned themselves to licentiousness, greedy to practice every kind of impurity." So what happens over a period of time, you have to understand, nobody gets out of bed in the morning and goes, and stretches and goes, I'm going to have an affair today. That's not how it happens. What happens is you give in a little bit, and you give it a little bit more, and the side hug becomes a front hug, and the hugs become a little bit longer, and you start sharing things with somebody you shouldn't share with them. You start getting very personal with them, and before long you're meeting with them privately, behind closed doors, and nobody can see you talking, or you go to a restaurant that's far away because you don't want people in the church to know that you're meeting together, and then before long you're meeting at some hotel or at somebody's house and you're having a physical relationship. That's how it happens. And verse 19 covers this because it says they lost all sensitivity. Slowly, but slowly, moving away from God, moving away from the standard that they are supposed to uphold, and before they're gone. Licentiousness is an interesting word. Let's put up the definition of licentiousness. This is what, of course I Googled it. I could have just looked it up in the dictionary, but I Googled it. It says, it's a lack of legal or moral restraints, especially when it comes to sexual behavior. What happens a lot of times, and this is not just ministers, I'm talking about all people, is that you get closer to that line that you're not supposed to cross, and you're like, hey, nothing bad happened. And then you get a little bit closer to that line, and you're like, oh, nothing bad happened. And then you get a little bit closer to that line, and then you just... People at the beginning of a relationship, you don't see the bad parts of them. You don't see their flaws. You just see the good parts. And what happens in relationship is you start to see the bad. You start to see your spouse's flaws, and then you get drawn to this other person, and you're like, oh, they're so wonderful. My friends, true love. You want real happiness? I have this, by the way. I have an amazing wife. And she's not perfect. She has flaws. I'm not perfect. I have flaws. But my wife loves me, including my flaws. And I love her, including her flaws. That's real intimacy. Chasing other people that are not your spouse is not real intimacy. So, anyway, if you are new, please hit like and subscribe. I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Please go to TED Talk, TED.com, hit participate and nominate. Please nominate me for a TED Talk. I really want to get this message out about how we can end clergy sexual abuse. I would really like the opportunity to speak on this at a TED Talk. So, until next time, I hope you have a great day.